In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we talk with Andrew Eardley from MSP Easy Tools, and we're going to help you get on top of your security. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Today, we're going to have a bit of a check-up with a neck up. We're going to be talking to Andrew Eardley, who's a recovering MSP owner. I hear in that quite a bit now, Andrew. It's quite an interesting term, and I'm not sure it's that detrimental to the work that we're doing. But anyway, and now owns MSP Easy Tools. So welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Excellent stuff. Well, look, we've got a really rampacked show planned for you guys today. And this is all around cybersecurity and kind of two things really we're going to really go deep on today. The first thing is, how do we protect you as an MSP, and what are some of the things you need to be aware of with regards to all of the nasties out there in the cyber world, but also how you can protect your clients as well. As people know, MSPs are a really great target for hackers and those horrible people, and we're going to help you get some tips, tricks, and some strategies to help you with that. So, Andrew, thanks again for your time, not only in preparation for the show, but also today. Do you want to just give us a couple of minutes and just let everyone know who you are, what you do, who you help? A little bit about your journey would be interesting, this recovering MSP owner. And over to you.
Fine. So I'll say from the onset, for 25 years, I ran an MSP. Start as a break fix, transitioned into MSP, ultimately to the point where I did what everyone dreams of doing, and that's selling your IT company. Your MSP, that's what all the hard work goes into. And I can tell you, as an MSP, ex-MSP, it's the best feeling in the world is when you get rid of it. And I say it in a really nice way, but, from a stress perspective, boy, you don't realise how much stress you actually carry as an MSP owner. We all wait for the next phone call as an MSP owner. Joking aside, it's that stress that you don't appreciate until you actually get rid of it. What is going to be the next phone call? I started as the technical bod, one-man band, grew it up to 12 engineers about 10 years ago, and I very purposely reduced the number of engineers down to 5 by the time I sold it. But, 10 years ago, we were probably managing about 150, 160 clients. By the time we sold, it was over 200 clients, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But it's that stress, and my biggest fear as an MSP owner was all my tenants being breached. What's the biggest thing? It wasn't, it got to the point in my MSP where I wasn't really concerned about the PCs breaking or the servers dying or if there was a data loss because of a server failure. My biggest fear was security.
Right. Yeah. As it is for many, isn't it, these days?
Yeah, because it's the reputational damage. If an MSP gets breached and it gets, we've seen so many examples of that happen over the last couple of years. All the client, the company will go bump quite quickly because people lose complete faith in you. Your staff will all go away somewhere else. Your clients will go somewhere else, but your reputation as the business owner is destroyed forever. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You can never work in the IT industry again. You better go off and be a plumber or a Sparky or something else, because you're not going to be an MSP. So, cybersecurity became the primary focus of my business. It's not only protecting the clients, but you are protecting yourself. And, something I always say to other MSPs, why are we in business? Why do we do what we do? Well, we do it because we enjoy it, or we used to at some point, but it's to provide the life that we're after. And I'm not talking about work, I'm talking about your partners, your kids, your family. You're there to grow your life, to enjoy life, buy the cars you want, go on the holidays that you want. The business is only there for that. And if it's causing you that much strain, that stress, you've got to do something about it.
Exactly. And that's some of the things that we talk about here, at the Growth Hub, is about, helping you become owner not needed, ONN, or Andrew not needed, and helping you build a business that works for you rather than you for it. And it's the reason it's such a great space to be in and channel, as you just explained a little bit there is that it's such a leveraged, profitable model. It should be relatively straightforward to bring in new products, deploy them across new clients, and wake up on the first of the month with a nice load of money in the bank from your monthly recurring revenue. But as you say, this is a real threat right now, and it always has been. So we're not talking about a subject that's all of a sudden something that's brand new. But what we are going to carry on. Tell a little story a little bit later on about one of Andrew's clients who was breached, but they didn't even know it. So we're going to talk through that and find out how that happened to obviously try and prevent that from happening to you too in your MSP. So, Andrew, what's some of your key principles? What were some of the things that you did? Do you want to tell us a little bit about MSP Easy Tools and what they do so we can just kind of get a bit of context?
Yeah. MSP Easy Tools is a toolkit for Office 365. And we'll talk about how I got to that in a couple of minutes, but basically it makes sure that you fully know what's going on inside Office 365. I'm going to make a statement here. You don't know what you don't know. So the only time you find out about something you don't know is when it goes wrong. What MSP Easy Tools is all about is making sure you know what needs to be done. And when we do find a problem, you know about it very quickly, as in terms of alerting, for example, or in our security reports. And then we give you the way to fix it really quickly. And when we say we give you the ability, we give your first line staff the ability to fix it really quickly. So going back to what Ian was saying about being out of the business, you leave your junior members of staff to fix problems really quickly without you having to get involved all the time.
This amazed me when we started talking about this because I'm not technical, so I can get away with saying all sorts of different things in the channel and to our client. But I always thought, right, because you've got Office 365, I thought it'd all be backed up, it's all in the cloud, it's all lovely, it's all safe and secure. No, it's not. And I thought, what do you mean it's not? Oh, you need another backup. What do you mean I need another backup? You need another system to back that up as well. So for the people who may be starting out in their journey or who may be not as advanced as some of our other MSP business owners, what possible information could your tool bring out of Office 365 that you wouldn't know on a normal day-to-day based business that's going to be a risk to you?
Yeah, this Office 365 is one of the most complicated processes out there. It started as a very nice thought, but Microsoft keep adding to it. And what they do is they keep opening up loopholes. It wasn't that long ago they were leaving some key protocols such as POP and IMAP enabled by default. Which meant that if cybercriminals got in with the username and password for your clients, they didn't matter about multi-factor authentication. If they got username and password, well, they could use the old system, and they could read and send emails to clients, for example. But such a vast toolkit. Even the experts that we talk to, and I say experts in inverted commas, they don't understand it fully. It's such a complicated product, but there are people out there that really do understand it because they spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week researching it. And that's the cyber criminals. They know how to get inside these products and they look for all the loopholes. And one of the key things about our approach is it's the cumulative knowledge of all the MSPs that we work with across the world. If an MSP finds a problem that we haven't even found, we'll then build a tool to protect it, not just for that MSP, but for everybody.
Yeah. And I suppose if you think about, what's happened with the Microsoft 365 stack, I think as we're kind of going to refer to it since the pandemic, all of a sudden, everyone's using Teams. What's Teams? I don't know what Teams is. Everyone's using Teams. Skype for Business has disappeared and it's now integrated. It's nice and easy to get all these integrations with your files and your SharePoint and your OneDrive and your Word and Excel and all of this kind of good stuff. But as you say, it's all connected to a reason. And I think that probably the key thing to just remind ourselves here is that as MSP business owners, this is, like if this, I'm going to say something really random now. I don't know where this came from. It's like your granny making a cake. She never used to weigh the scales out for anything because she knows how to make it and you know what's in it. But the problem is if your clients don't know how it's working or you're not protecting them for how they're using Office 365 or connecting it to all these other millions of apps that are out there now. Oh, just connect this. It makes it easier. Oh, connect it and make that easier. Probably in your head, you're saying, oh, connect that and open up a loophole. Oh, connect this and open up a loophole. And before you know it, the back door's wide open and these guys know it and in they come and that's the way they go. So, really, really, really key subject.
So one of the really key things about Office 365 is, especially from an MSP's perspective, you are responsible for all of your tenants. You have one access point into the Microsoft Partner Portal. And that uses your engineer's username and password. And if you've configured it, which you should have done, multi-factor authentication. Now, multi-factor authentication on the Office 365 platform is as much use as a chocolate fireguard. It's so simple to breach. You know, you look at your engineers that are supporting your clients. Your apprentices will have full access to your Office 365 tenants. They have the ability to go and fix all the problems in there because that's what you're paying them for. But your 18, 19-year-old apprentices, and I'm picking on apprentices, it can actually be your third line staff that get con just the same, get a random email asking them to do something because their Office 365 needs to be updated or whatever it is. They're not brilliant. They get con like the rest of us do. They click in, do whatever's done, and MFA is breached. Now cybercriminals are inside your Office 365 tenants. You've set up all the configuration, you've put all the warnings in place, but they've got full global admin rights on your tenants. What's the first thing they go and do? Well, obviously, they go and turn off all the damn warnings. You haven't got a clue that anything's going on.
Yeah.
You know, how often do you as an MSP go back and actually check all the configuration and settings? You don't because you're too busy. And that's how cyber criminals go. And we'll talk about that as a prime example in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. You're frightening me as it is, Andrew, on this one already. What were some of your principles then? What's some of your core principles as an MSP that you did to help secure yourself and to help reduce, that risk in your business?
Yeah. Well, I think we sat down and we actually looked at what products we were actually covering. I think we were covering 6 different types of antivirus. I think we're up to about 7 or 8 different firewall products. We got different, we were looking at server environments, about 4 or 5 different server environments, server 2000, 2003, 2008, 2011, and we got all these different server environments. We were looking at a whole host of different products, and it was highly complicated. We got different operating systems on desktops. As much as you tried to push your clients, they always refused. No, we're quite happy with Windows 95, and we should be running on Windows 10. And it became a nightmare because your skill set, you were having to become an expert in lots of different fields, and you can't. MSPs, not only do we as an MSP owner have to be good at the IT, we've got to manage the staff. We've got to deal with the clients. We've got to look at the accounts. We've got to do all these, all the marketing, all these other things. How much time do you have to concentrate on security when you've got such a broad remit? So what we decided to do was we're going to reduce our stack. What is it we actually do? So going back 10 years, we were covering all these servers. Microsoft dropped the bombshell that SBS 2014 wasn't coming out. There was massive uproar. I was swearing at Microsoft about that, but it was the best thing that ever happened because I decided to jump into Office 365. We were managing in excess of 150 on-prem servers, SBS 2011, 2008. What we did, we migrated into over a 2-year period, virtually all of those servers to the cloud. We moved them to Office 365. We insisted to the clients that they've got to be on the latest operating system. We've got to bring the machines up to spec. And we did get rid of a few clients who refused to work with us. Security is paramount. We switched as firewalls became old and they needed to be replaced. We moved to one brand. Now, you choose a brand, it doesn't matter. Predominantly, whatever you choose, it doesn't matter. One antivirus product or maybe just 2. We ended up with 2 antivirus products. Our standard day-to-day products and our ultimate product, something you can upsell. One firewall brand, but you just sell a different variety of the firewall. But you became experts in those. When you're only concentrating on Office 365, one antivirus, one malware protection, one of every type, you don't need to be so thinly spread in terms of security. You've got the time to concentrate. And that's fundamental. You can't do that overnight. This isn't something you'll do in 10 minutes, even a year, maybe 2. This might take you 2 or 3 years to achieve. But as long as you've got that longer term plan, you know that you're then on top of your security.
This should also be part of any kind of like growing and scaling plan, shouldn't it? In reducing risk, because you're in a position where you've got a risk plan. Most businesses should have risk registers and be reviewing them regularly. And if you've identified that you've got a big stack and you've got lots of open doors in the back office, as it would be, then how do you reduce those, and how do you keep some of those closed and then bolt them shut? So no, it's good, a good strategy and a good bit of information there on that.
The other thing to consider when you're doing that is also think about monthly recurring revenue.
Okay.
When I switched, everything stopped being about projects. This was simultaneous thought process. We're going to remove all the knowledge that we need to, which obviously in turn makes it easier to train your engineers, but also everything's got to be on a monthly recurring revenue. So we switched to processes. So we've switched to a server brand where we could charge monthly. We switched to every system became a monthly recurring revenue. If I wouldn't put a new process in that unless it generated a monthly recurring revenue, and obviously that becomes much easier then in terms of cost and trade.
Yeah, well, it becomes much easier. And it makes the business much more profitable as well, and also more interested and more valuable to any potential purchasers as well. So, okay, what does protecting your client, from a security wise, look like? I know we've touched on that, kind of like reducing the stack and the way that people are getting into there. But what does as a whole, when someone says, "Oh, I'm going to go and protect," I need to protect my client better, particularly in Microsoft 365. What does that actually mean in terms of what do we need to do?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is knowing if cybercriminals are actually inside the platform.
Okay.
If you're talking particularly about Office 365, I'll ask the MSPs, when do they typically know that a client's been breached? And the answer I get 99 times out of 100 is when the client tells them. Unusual emails are flying out of their inboxes. They've had money taken out the bank, or invoices that should have been paid to them have been paid to cybercriminals. All the money they've paid to one of their suppliers or one of their customers has actually gone to the wrong bank account. And we've seen that multiple times. Being actually on top of what the cybercriminals are doing. And that's really difficult to do on a day-to-day basis. Talking about what we said earlier on, 10 years ago, I'd got 12 engineers. When I realised that cybercriminals could actually get inside my Office 365 platforms for my tenants, I actually got 2 of those engineers working full time, constantly checking all the settings, which is really, it's a terrible job. For the engineer, it's really terrible for you as the MSP owner because it's really expensive, but it's also damn boring. So we automated that. So, we now go looking, using our toolkit, we got one of the things we've got is proactive monitoring. It proactively looks at your tenants that are in the Microsoft Partner Portal. And you can choose which tenants you want to protect. You don't have to protect them all. You can just choose the ones that you want to protect. And it will then look for example, for any method whereby emails can be forwarded out the platform. What cyber criminals will do is they will get in, they won't make themselves obvious. They'll set a forwarder up on a mailbox, for example. Now, you might have already disabled that function, but the first thing they'll do is they'll go and turn that off and turn the warning off so you don't know it's off. Emails will then get forwarded out the platform until the right moment strikes. And we actually saw this at our MSP. This happened to a new client that we'd won because of this problem. Basically, it was a firm of solicitors. Cybercriminals had waited and followed the transactions until the money request came in. So the email got changed. The actual PDF document got changed. Inside the PDF document, they changed the bank details. This is in the middle of an email chain. £200,000 was paid into the wrong bank account. Now, I spoke to MSPs across the world. We've got clients globally. The most I've ever heard from another MSP was in America. They just picked up a new client that had just lost just shy of $8 million in exactly that same scam. Now, when that happened, who was the first thing the firm of solicitors looked to sue? The MSP. Poor guy. He was a lovely guy. I spoke to the MSP that we took over from. Lovely guy. He was heartbroken. He thought he'd got everything covered. He thought he knew where everything was protected. We ran when we got reported the problem, we ran our security report. Within 3 minutes, we'd found exactly what was going on. We saw exactly the forwarders that were in place and all the rest of it. In seconds, we knew how to fix the problem. Within a couple of minutes, we'd fixed the breach, but by then the damage had been done. But, we're checking for any method where emails can go out the business. We're looking for any new admin accounts, because that's what the other thing they'll do. They'll create a new admin account. They won't go and change your password or your engineer's password. What they'll do is they'll sit there. They will sit there for as long as possible. Now, I'm sure you've seen or heard the statistic for how long, on average, cyber criminals sit inside of a platform. Have you heard that one, Ian?
I've heard it, but it changes very, very frequently, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard 6 to 12 months, but I don't know what your number is.
The current number we've got is 221 days, and this was from a report by IBM from last year. So they sit in there for a long time, and that went up from the previous number, which was 175 days. So they sit there for a long time because they're sitting and waiting to strike. So yeah, we're looking for all the signs of cyber criminal activity. And when we see them, we don't just send you the warning once, as Microsoft does, because we know first-line engineers miss them. And, these things happen. We keep sending the alert every hour until your first-line staff fix the problem. And that's the key thing. It's sent every hour, but your first-line staff can fix it, because every alert has got a corresponding tool to fix the problem. At our MSP, we've actually got our admin staff fixing the problems, because we'll have the first-line guys and the other guys to fix other problems. But, it's all about making it really simple to do things really quickly. So the other big problem we had as an MSP was staff. Our MSP was based in Stoke-on-Trent, which is the home of the Bet365 gambling company that worked 24/7. So, I'd have staff, take the apprentices, get them to exactly the right kind of guys that I wanted, guys and girls that I actually wanted, knew their stuff. It'd normally take me about 4 or 5 years. And then they get offered a job by Bet365 for 50% more than I could pay them. Now, we were paying them a decent salary, but they were going to work on continental shift 24/7.
Yeah.
So, of course, I can't match that. But I've now lost 4 or 5 years worth of experience. I've got to start again. And it takes a lot of effort. You can't get good staff, not just here in Stoke-on-Trent. You can't get good staff anywhere in the world. It's the same problem for MSPs globally. So you've got to make life easier to do the complicated jobs, and that's again where our toolkit comes in.
It's particularly important as well, that skill set. Once someone goes out who you've invested all that time in over 4 or 5 years, the experience that they've got, walks out the door, which kind of brings it on to a little bit of a subject around staff retention as well, which is really important thing that we all need to make sure we've got as an MSP. Really interesting there, just about some of the details on that. But this is also an opportunity, isn't it, that we can use this to add value to your existing clients and also to new clients. How does that kind of work out in terms of a package, or what's the methodology you'd suggest to use for that?
Yeah. So, MSPs, inherently, our job was to make sure that the computers were working fine. Is the machines are the machines working fast? Are they having any problems? Printer problems. I can't get Excel to work. But life for an MSP has changed. Our primary role now, or the way that I saw it, was our job is not to fix computers anymore. Windows 11, Windows 10, come off it, guys. You can rebuild a Windows 10 or 11 machine in less than an hour now. It's not complex. People with very limited IT experience can fix IT problems now. Our job really is security. But our clients only see us as the IT fixing company. We're the problem solvers in terms of fixing IT problems. But that's not our role anymore, not in this day and age. Our real role is making sure our clients are secure. And what we needed to do, and what I did, was highlight to my clients the security problems. GDPR was a good instigator in terms of making people realise that security of data is key. But, it's the reputational damage to their business if they get breached now more than anything else. So our job as an MSP is actually about security, but it's a great opportunity to upsell. So what I did with my clients was I said, fine, what I need you to do, Mr. Client, is now add an extra line into your profit and loss account. And that's for security. IT support is one thing, but security is another. And I always use use the house as an analogy. As an MSP, our job is to make sure that the house is clean, the front door opens, the fridge is working. Those are the basic things. We might throw in some security, a bit of antivirus, the front door shuts. But security now for your business needs more. If we look at the house again as a security, in terms of security, we can add on a big roller shutter door in front of the main office. If you're in America, you can put an armed guard there, or you can put a big fence around the garden with guard dogs running around, CCTV, alarm systems. All these things cost extra. So fine, we're keeping your machines working, but we've got to now talk about security. And this is, if you've got the machine just down to Windows 10, well, to be blunt, a decent antivirus system with a good RMM tool on the machine that's automatically patch and updating covers vast majority of the problems. But what about the other things? The firewalls, the issues on Office 365. You can charge extra. The clients that have been resistant to security, you need to change that process. So, we had a lot of problems. In Stoke-on-Trent, they refer to each other as Duck. You all right, Duck? How you going, Duck? Not mate, it's Duck. So I used to say my clients are as tight as a duck's backside. They don't like to spend money. And this is world over. This isn't just Stoke-on-Trent. This is world over. Client in Australia, an MSP in Australia, he told me his clients have got very short arms and very deep pockets. They don't want to spend money. So I use something called the disclaimer form. And what I did with my MSP clients was I took them to lunch, because you need to get them away from the office. You need to get them into an environment where they're feeling happy and content. And you ask them what life looks like in 12 months' time. Not the business. What does their life look like? How many hours are they working? What car are they driving? What holidays are they taking? You get them into their happy place. You get them to dream and talk about what life could look like. And then you ask the question, what would happen if your company was breached? What would the impact be? And you bring them crashing down to earth. And as my old Sandler training guy used to say, you kick them in the chest and you keep kicking them until they realise that actually they've got to do something about it. And then you just talk about what you can potentially do. And what I would normally do, take them for lunch, treat them, and then say, I need you to look at this disclaimer. These are the things that I'm recommending for you now. This isn't just about Office 365. These are all the security things that you need to do to make sure you're right. And I would start the conversation with by saying, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, you do not need to have any of these things if you don't want them. But all I will ask you to do is sign the declaration, initial to say that you don't want the particular thing. And then at the very end, you'll sign the disclaimer. And I just rattle through everything that needs to be done. To explain each section, it might take a while. It's a couple of hours to get, lunch and talk them through that, but it's well worth it, I promise you. And at the very end, I had a disclaimer. And basically, not the exact wording, but something along the lines of, I acknowledge, and insert their name there, and you would repeat this, by the way. You wouldn't just let them read it. You'd say it to them. I fully acknowledge that I've accepted that I don't want these your recommendations. If anything that happens to my business, I take full responsibility. The number of clients that have gone, no, in terms of we don't want that, we don't want that, we don't want that. When they get to that disclaimer and you read that out to them, the number that turn around and said, Andrew,
changes the world, doesn't it?
Yeah, it changes their world. Because you've taken them where they could be, and then you've brought them back down to earth about if they do nothing about it. We had a 95% success rate on that.
Yeah. I think a lot of our clients do that. We call it the opt-out, and it's always a really powerful thing to do. Andrew, absolutely loving the level of detail we've got in here. It's really making me kind of think in some of the conversations we have with our MSPs. But just before we wrap up, I'd just love to hear about this client of yours who was breached, but they didn't even know about it. What was that all about?
Yeah, an MSP, we've been contacting MSPs, obviously trying to get more people in to test that, to try out our tools. He reluctantly said, "Oh, go on, then we'll take the free 1 month trial." Within a couple of hours of us actually turned the system on for him, he started to run the security reports on his own MSP, and we always recommend that they do that first. And he came back to us and said, "I'm getting these alerts, but there's something wrong in your system. It's telling me something is wrong in my system." Now, our system can only tell you something that's actually there. It can't make anything up. So, he argued with us to begin with until he actually sat down with the head of the development team. And we showed him that actually cybercriminals had been in the platform for in excess of 90 days. And they'd been monitoring not only his tenants, but all of his tenants, all of his clients as well. He got over 120 tenants. And they were literally into every single one. We quickly helped him to protect himself, and then over the next couple of hours, he then went through and protected all of his tenants really quickly. But he was completely oblivious to the fact that cybercriminals were actually sat inside his platform, literally chomping his way through all of his tenants. We couldn't tell him where it had happened or when it had happened, because there's only 90 days worth of data in the audit logs, Microsoft audit logs. It had happened more than 90 days ago. But he's a very thankful and now a very profitable MSP that slipped way back.
Exactly. It's not just about earning new money and earning new sales and marketing and all that revenue. It's all about keeping what you got as well. And if some of that goes out that back door we keep talking about, then that's not a great place for anyone. Andrew, been absolutely brilliant today. Thank you ever so much for your time and effort. Do you just want to spend a couple of seconds and just let everybody know how they can get hold of you? And I believe you've got a little bit of a treat for everyone who's listened to the podcast today.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get hold of me, it's Andrew at MSPeasytools.com. Go and have a look at our website, MSPeasytools.com. What you'll do, if you just have a little flick through and go and look at the security report section, we give examples and show you actually how the security report runs. You can actually download a free trial, a cut down version of the security report. It is cut down. It doesn't give you absolutely everything, but it shows you with your data what's going on in your system. Just to give you a little flavour before you try and talk to me, you want to take a full 1 month trial of the demo. I say the trial is free, so there's no cost. It just gives you a chance to check it out.
Well, I can't see why anybody wouldn't take that. That sounds like an absolute brilliant deal. So thanks ever so much for that. Andrew, it's been great speaking to you. Thanks for your insights, knowledge, and all your information today. It's been really, really useful. We're going to put all the links for everything we talked about into the show notes so everyone can pop over there and click away and go and get your free assessment and see how that goes. And I wish you all the very best luck and success. And I look forward to catching up with you all soon. Thanks, Andrew. Take care.
Thanks, Ian.
So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.